Now let's look at actually creating a table in a SQL Server database in 2012. Now there's two ways to go about doing this in SQL Server 2012, and these have both been in the last few versions of SQL Server. I'm not sure when the graphical came in, but we can use Transact SQL code to create a table, or we can create the table graphically using the tools that we have out there. In this video, I'm going to do T-SQL code, and in a separate video, you can look for it out there. It was cleverly entitled, by the way, Graphical Table Creation, and I'll show you there how to create the same table graphically. So let's jump out to the SQL Server Management Studio and create a table. So notice I'm in the Management Studio, and I am just going to click on New Query up here on the button bar. By the way, I would have opened Management Studio, connected to the database, all that like you saw earlier in the course. Notice I'm going to expand my databases. I will expand AdventureWorks 2012, and then I will expand tables. I'm going to create a table called Mark. And notice there is no table named Mark here. And so what I'm going to do is jump over here. I'll come down a line or two, and I'll use all caps here so that you can see the command name and then some other aspects of it. So turn on caps lock, and we just type create table. Couldn't be any easier than that. The name of the table, Mark. Then I'm going to go to the next line and open parentheses. And now I'm just going to list my columns and the data types for each column. First column is going to be person ID, space, data type is an integer, int. Next line. Name of this column, last name, the data type, variable character or varchar, and I'll accept up to 50 characters there. Put a comma. Next column, first name. This one's going to be varchar 25. And you can put whatever numbers you like for your names, but we don't have many people with more than 50 letters in their last name, and we don't have many people with more than 25 letters in their first name. So we're probably okay there. I can come back and modify the table if it's a problem. Then the last column we're going to put is age, and I'm going to do tiny int. Tiny int will accept 0 to 255. We probably won't hire anybody over 255 years old, right? So I will close that out, and it's good coding practice to end with a semicolon. There we have it. There's my code to create the table. Now, since I don't have any other code on here, I don't have to highlight all this. I could, but since I don't have any other code in my window to confuse it, I will come up here, make sure that I'm working against the AdventureWorks 2012 database, and then I will execute that query. So I'll execute it, and it comes back and says command completed successfully, and that's all the feedback I get, and so I should have a table over here. So I come over here and I scroll up and down, and I don't see a marked table. What's going on? Well, I need to refresh this. So again, come up here, notice here's the little button, or I could right-click here and choose refresh. That will close everybody and collapse everything. I have to open it back up. So I'll just refresh here. And notice what I have here, DBO Mark. There is my table. And if I expand that, guess what columns I have? Person ID, int. And notice these will accept nulls because accepting nulls is the default. Now, I could have come right here and put not null, and it would have set it up a little differently, okay? And I'll show you that graphically, how we can play with that as well. But here's what I want you to see. Creating a table is that simple. Now I can come back and change this table by altering it, by typing ALTER right there where create is. But I can alter that table. That's another subject for another video. But here's what I really want you to see. Your homework is to go out into Books Online, and I just hit Books Online on the internet here, and do a search on create table. Now this is the syntax for the create table statement. Okay, notice what I did here. I typed create table right here, okay? And then I did the column definition, right? The column name, notice right here, the column name and the data type. And I just did that over and over and over, separating them with commas. Notice all of this other stuff that you can create with code. Notice it's still going, okay? All of that can be done. You don't want me to go through all this right now, and you do not want me to create one of those. You'd never understand it, right? So here's kind of the dirty little secret out there. Most database programmers that I know and that I work with, when they're creating tables, they will go the simple route. Just create the table and get it out there, and then they will go start altering it. Other people will disagree and take me out to the parking lot for saying that. They will go ahead and set up their primary keys and everything else and all that stuff, and they'll set their constraints and everything here when they build it, however you want to do it. But here's your homework. Go read about all the arguments that you can put into this. And if you'll read these down here, you can come back up here and find these different things, column definitions, computed column definition. You can come down and find these things down here, and it explains what that is and why you would want to use it. Notice you've got a lot of instructional information here about the various options and syntax options you have, but I want to show you the good part of this. If you go all the way to the bottom, you will see examples. And this shows you how to create different kinds of tables. You can cut and paste this code in, hack it a little bit, and play with it. But you can see how to create table definitions with constraints and all sorts of things. So go out there, dig around in this documentation. You can learn a lot by reading this. Print it out, read it when you're standing in line, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's how to create a table graphically in SQL Server.